Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Michael Fortin. I am the Director of Promotion for the Maine Tax Portal here at Maine Revenue Services. I'm joined by our panelist, Lori Brand, Deputy Director of the Sales, Fuels, and Special Tax Division. And it's my pleasure to be your MC for our webinar on cigarette and tobacco for the new Maine Tax Portal that became available on October 10th, 2023, which marks our third rollout of the Maine Tax Portal. The portal is now open for individuals and most Maine businesses to file and pay taxes, view notices, and much more. You can visit the MTP information page at maine.gov/revenue/portal to learn when you can get started for your specific tax type. I'll give you that address again. It's maine.gov/revenue/portal. Before Lori gets started with her presentation, I have a few housekeeping items to review with everyone. First, the raise hand button, yes, at the bottom of the Zoom screen will not be used for today's session, although you will have many opportunities to ask questions. Today's webinar is designed to be interactive, so therefore once Lori begins her presentation, I will be enabling our attendees to unmute your microphones and talk with Lori if you should have any questions. Attendees who don't have a mic or would simply be more comfortable typing in your question, you can use the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We will answer as many questions as possible. If we're unable to address your questions live, then we will follow up via email following the webinar. There may be times when you'd like Lori to repeat a step that you've missed, or perhaps you're simply unable to watch the entire session today. Therefore, it will be helpful to know that today's webinar has been recorded and can be viewed by anyone who's registered. There are no documents or presentation materials that you'll need for today's webinar. Feel free to take notes, but know you can always rewatch the recorded session anytime you'd like to review it. And finally, we should be reminded that there can be unexpected technical challenges, and Lori is speaking to you live, so therefore we appreciate your understanding and ask for your patience if we should experience any technical difficulties. That concludes all of our housekeeping items. But one last point is, along with Lori today, behind the scenes, we have Tabitha and Tyler helping us with the demonstration of the Maine Tax Portal. So we'd like to thank them for their help as well. Lori, let's get started.
All right, thank you, Mike. Okay, welcome to the Maine Revenue Services Maine Tax Portal webinar. Today, Tabitha and I will be demonstrating Maine Tax Portal functionality, including how to create a username and password for Maine Tax Portal access, how to file and pay a tobacco products tax return, submit a cigarette stamp order, request a refund of cigarette tax, and how to submit a PACT Act report, also known as a Prevent All Cigarette Trafficking report. None of the data that we are using for this demonstration is true taxpayer data. It is all created in our development environment. And since we're using a development environment, you will see blue populate links besides some fields such as banking information, and those will not be available in the production environment that you'll be using. Before we get started, it should be noted that preferred browsers for the Maine Tax Portal are Chrome, Edge, and Firefox. Internet Explorer is not recommended or supported. We're entering rollout 3 of the Maine Tax Portal, and anyone with a tax type from the previous rollouts can use the system. Those tax types include corporate, sales, use, service provider, withholding, and healthcare provider, just to name a few. This rollout includes hospital, individual income tax, cigarette, tobacco products, milk handling, and initiator of deposit taxes. Cigarette and tobacco taxpayers will receive, if they have not already, invitation letters containing their new 8-digit account number and detailed information on how to utilize the portal and create a username and password, which we're going to show you in this demonstration. You can create your profile and access to the Maine Tax Portal now, and you don't need to wait for the letter. If you have questions, please be sure to ask them during the presentation. We do have a lot to cover, so let's get started. The first activity that we're going to do is to create a user ID and password using a letter ID and a tax amount. So we're going to begin at the Maine Revenue Services homepage, and which is showing on the screen right now. So this is maine.gov/revenue, again, the Maine Revenue Services homepage. And to get to the Maine Tax Portal, you can select either the red File and Pay button Or you can navigate to the top menu, hover over Electronic Services, and select the top link for the Maine Tax Portal. And here we are. This is the Maine Tax Portal homepage. There are two ways that you can create a username. You can select Create a Username at the top right of the home screen under the Login button, or you can navigate to the Quick Links panel, select Register and Apply, and then select Create a Username. Both of these links will take you to the exact same place and the same process. So here you will see 4 options, and you must select one of them. The first being I represent a business or organization, which means that your tax accounts are registered under an EIN. I am a sole proprietor, which means your accounts are under a social security number. I represent a third party. I represent a municipality or a county, sorry. This means that you're a branch of government. And finally, I am an independent third party or a licensed payroll processor. And this category covers bookkeepers or accounting firms as an example. For today's demonstration, we will select option 1 and then select Next. So here you are shown the information that is required to proceed with creating your username. Before you select Next, make sure that you have everything that you need. And once you do, you can select Next. The Validate Tax Information section contains required information. You will need to select an ID type, such as a federal ID, individual taxpayer identification number, or social security number, but because we represent a business or organization, the only option available is a federal ID, as being shown in the dropdown. So we'll select that, and then we will enter our ID and the account type that is associated with your business. Today, we're going to select tobacco tax, but just a note that if your tax type is not shown in this list, you cannot proceed with creating a username and password because the tax type is part of the verification process. So now we've selected tobacco products, we can select Next. And here we're shown the verification type. So you have 2 options, a tax amount or a tax refund amount due from one of the past 3 filed returns, or a letter ID. 0 returns, as noted on the top link, cannot be used for verification. If you have only filed 0 returns, you will have to use the letter ID from any letter that you have received from Maine Revenue Services. So right now we're going to select option 1, and then we'll select Next. And here you'll see 2 buttons, a tax amount due or a tax refund amount. We're going to select tax amount due, and then we'll enter that amount. And this is an amount due from any 3 past filed returns. So now we can select Next. And here we are taken to the user information section. So this is where you would begin to create your username. We're going to take a couple of steps back by hitting the previous button below. And we're going to show you how to create a username using the letter ID. So we're going to select that option and Next. And now we're going to pop up an example of the letter on the screen. And here we are. This is an example of an invitation letter that you may have received. So in the top right-hand corner, you'll see letter ID and letter date. Those must correspond, meaning the letter ID must go with the letter date. You can't just pick a letter ID from a different letter date. So now that we've seen that, those are the 2 pieces of information that you'll need for this process. We'll enter those now. And then select Next. And here we are. We're right back to the same screen that we were at before. So whichever option works best for you, you can use either one. So here we're going to enter in a username, which is created by you. And then you'll enter your first and last name, your email address, and again for confirmation. You'll be asked if you would like to go paperless for mail delivery. And we're going to say no, but keep in mind that some pieces of mail are required to be sent via U.S. Postal Service. The next panel is the security panel, and this requires you to enter the password that you would like to use. Password requirements are at least 12 characters containing a mix of upper and lowercase letters, at least one number, and one special character. You can view the password requirements by clicking the blue circled eye icon beside the word password, as is being demonstrated now. To make sure that your passwords are correctly entered, select the blue eye at the end of the password field to view. Passwords are only visible until they match, at which time they will turn to all asterisks and can no longer be viewed. You'll also be required, as noted by the red asterisks, to select and type and answer a secret question. And then the final panel requires a phone number. The phone type defaults to a cell phone, but you can select the type of phone that you wish to use. So we've completed this, so we can select Next. And here is a registration summary of everything that we have entered so far for the process of creating our username. Take a look and make sure all of the information that you'd like to have is accurate, and then you can select Submit. You will be required to enter your email address twice, and you'll see this throughout the Maine Tax Portal. Most all activities require that you do this process. And we'll say OK. And here's your confirmation code. Please note this for your records. You can also select the printable view and use your browser's print functionality to print this confirmation off. We'll go and say OK at this time, and I'm going to pause for any questions. Okay, I'm not seeing any. So our next activity will be to file or submit a PACT Act report. So we're going to navigate to the Quick Links panel again, and we're going to select File or Return or Form. And then we're going to select Submit a Tax Act report. And here you'll be asked some identifying questions such as, are you a business? Well, we're going to say yes. And then we'll enter the business name, the federal ID number, and then we can select Next. On this screen, you will enter your mailing information, such as including your street address, state, and zip code. Your address will need to be verified before you can proceed. And now we can select Next. I would like to point out that little pop-up that came up there for a few minutes. That just notes that your session will expire in 15 minutes because some processes can take a long time. But if you're idle for 15 minutes, your session will be, you'll be exited from the system. All right, so let's select Next. And this is the attachment panel. This is where you will attach your report by selecting the Add Attachment link in blue text to the right of the screen. The file type defaults to PACT Act report, and then you can choose your file by selecting the Choose File button. This does open your file browser where you can select your file and then say OK. Enter the required information about the document that you're attaching, and then you can say Next. We are now at the declaration screen, and this is consistent throughout the Maine Tax Portal. For every return or document that you submit, you'll see the declaration that attests that this document is true to the best of your ability, and you'll enter the name of the individual submitting the return or document twice for confirmation, and then submit. And here we go with the email address twice for confirmation. We'll say OK. And again, there's your confirmation number. you'll get a confirmation code or number for every activity that you do within the portal as well. All right, I'll pause again for any questions there may be. If you do have any, just feel free to speak up. That's fine.
Is there a report for the PACT Act? Is there an Excel document that we already have? I just started doing Maine, so that's why I'm just asking.
Okay, there is, it's not a Maine form specific. The FTA has one that is fine for you to use. I believe that there's also maybe a sample form on our MRS website under the other taxes on the tobacco page.
Okay.
But if you'd like, you can put your email address in the questions, or I can follow up with you after.
Okay,
I can send you a form. Okay. All right. Thank you for your question. All right. Our next activity will be to submit an order for cigarette stamps. This activity requires that you be logged into the portal. So let's do that now using the username and password that we just created. All right, here you will see a profile or a step to set up two-step verification. You only need to do the setup one time, but you do need to authenticate each time you access the Maine tax portal. So whatever option you choose should be available to you each time that you log into the portal. So we're going to select to add an email address and then enter that email address and then select save. So here's that blue populate link that we are going to use, but you won't have available. But this is where you would add that security code that you received from your selected authentication method. And we can hit confirm. And now you are now inside the Maine tax portal, and you can see all of the account types that you have under the entity that you registered your username under. We have quite a lot of them. All right, so this is the summary tab. So again, it shows all of the account types that you have registered under the entity that you created your username under. The next tab that you will see at the top is called Action Center, and that shows the number and type of actions that you need to take, such as filing a return, making a payment, all of those things. The Settings tab, which is the next tab, is where you can set a default payment method. You can change your mail notification method and mail delivery. The next tab is called More, and that probably has the most functionality. So More is where you will find your submissions, messages, and letters from Maine Revenue Services, including your filed returns and payments. You can update your names and addresses in addition to other account management requests. So we want to show one small piece of functionality that this tab offers, and we're going to navigate to the Letters panel, and we're going to select the View Letters link. So here we can print and view any letters sent to us by Maine Revenue Services. To print a copy, you'll just click on the letter type link, which will bring up your letter, and you'd use your browser's print functionality to print it if you wanted to. If you had a lot of letters, you could filter the letters by typing a keyword in the filter located to the right side of the page, where you'll now see tobacco. So let's place that cigarette stamp order. We're going to navigate to the summary panel by selecting the business name at the top of the screen, and we're going to move to the cigarette tax panel on the summary tab. All right, so you'll see the link titled Order Cigarette Stamps. We'll click on that, and we will answer the demographic information. Have we gone out of business? Nope. Right, and then select next. And here we are, the stamp order details. Now this is where you would be required to enter the number of stamp rolls that you wish to order. 20-pack rolls are first, which is the $2 stamp, as seen by the 20-pack roll rate on the next line. Does the math for you, which is awesome. So the next the bottom section is 25 packs. We're not going to order any of, we did 5 rolls, perfect. And we're going to select next here. And this is our tax calculation page. So this is based completely on the entries that you made on the prior screen. And this is the balance including the purchases that we're about to make. So if everything looks good, you can select Next. And here we're shown the balance due. And you'll be asked if you'd like to make a payment. We're going to say no, as our bond will cover this purchase. If your purchase does exceed your bond amount, you will be required to make a payment before your order will be filled. So, and I do want to note that you can submit an order for cigarette stamps any day of the week that you'd like, but we only fill orders on Wednesdays unless it's a holiday or some other incident comes up. But typically we fill orders on Wednesdays. So everything looks good to us now. We're going to select Next. And here you can see your summary. So give this a look and make sure everything is okay. And then you can select Next. There's the declaration that swears or attests to everything that you've entered is true and accurate. You'll enter the name of the person submitting the order twice and then select Submit. Again, there's your confirmation code, and if you want to, you can print this out by selecting Printable View and using your browser's print functionality. With that said, you'll also be able to see your order under Submissions if you go to the More tab. Perfect. There's your cigarette stamp order. We will still include a copy of this within each package, within each order. And it will show that it's been verified, but you can also see it right here. All right. So does anybody have any questions before we move to our next activity? All right. Let's submit a cigarette tax refund. So let's navigate down to that panel and request a refund. Here you are shown the reasons a refund may be authorized. These are statuted reasons. So these are the reasons that we can refund you for your cigarette stamps. We'll select Next now. And there's your entity information. So we have not gone out of business. We can select Next. And we'll need to enter our mailing address. And because this is a logged in activity, your mailing address has already been entered for you. So now that we've verified our address, we can select Next. And these are the reasons for the refund which you would choose. If you needed assistance for the descriptions, you can click on the blue circled I or the link itself, and that gives a little pop-up of information as to what we would be looking for. So we're going to select the reason called damaged or improperly stamped. So let's click that. And then that requires us to enter the purchase date of the roll of stamps. And then we can select Next. Because you may not be returning a complete roll, we'll enter the number of stamps that were damaged or improperly stamped in the correct value field. And then we can select Next. Here you will be required to attach the manufacturer name or enter the manufacturer name and stamp value by either 20 or 25 pack rolls. And the number of stamps returned is required, and they must be physically returned to Maine Revenue Services. Now, most of you have been accustomed to doing this via paper because that's the method that we had, but the process of returning the physical stamps, if you have them, if they weren't destroyed by the manufacturer, is still part of the process. So now we've made these entries, we can select Next. And now we're at the Documentation tab. Depending on the reason that we chose for the return of stamps, you will be required to attach documentation. And since we chose damaged or improperly stamped, we will be required to attach the manufacturer affidavit by selecting the Add Attachment link, which we demonstrated earlier. So we're going to select Choose File, and then the document that we want to attach, and say OK. And notice down below in the little table, the attachment table, your document has been attached. So then you can select Next, or if you made a mistake, you can hit the Remove button and add another one. So now you're asked if you would like your refund as direct deposit. We're going to say yes. And is the refund going to an account outside of the US? We're going to answer no to that. We cannot issue direct deposits for accounts outside of the US. So here we'll enter our banking information, our routing number, and the associated account number. And again, for confirmation, and select Next. Now, here's a summary of your cigarette refund application. Since everything looks good, we're going to select Next. And here is our declaration. So we'll check that and enter the name of the person submitting the application twice. And then select Submit. Again, there's your confirmation code. You can select printable view if you'd like. Okay, let's navigate back to the Summary tab.
I have a question.
Yes.
So our cigarettes are returned by our customers if they're like damaged or out of date. They go to a third party. So I wouldn't know when the stamp number or when it was purchased. What would I put in those forms in?
Would you be the one submitting the request, the refund request?
Yes.
You would.
To you guys, yes.
Okay.
I just get a manufacturer's affidavit with the amount of stamps that were returned and that had Maine's stamp code on them.
Okay, so that's perfect. So in that case, there are no stamps to return to us. The affidavit is sufficient.
Okay.
So because they've already done the destruction. When the manufacturers do the destruction, that's when we need the affidavit.
Okay.
So at that point, you would just go through this process, attach the affidavit, and that's all you'd have to do.
Okay, so then if we had damaged stamps that our warehouse puts on a piece of paper, the person doing that would have to then go in and put in each one of the stamps. But then would they have to, we don't always know when this, what rolls are purchased on what date. Would they need to have that information since they're returning those stamps?
They would need to have that information, yes. Yeah, okay. Because the stamp rolls do need to match.
Okay, I will have to talk with them.
Okay. All right, are there any additional questions? All right. So let's navigate down to the tobacco products panel. And note that you can, from this panel, you can submit a PACT Act report. So you can do that as a logged in activity or as a non-logged in activity. So for us, we're going to select the View and File Returns link. And this will take us to the returns. So note that we have more than you would typically see, but on the left-hand side, you'll see the periods that you're filing for. You'll see past periods, or the current period normally, and future periods. Please note which period you are filing for, and be careful not to select a future period. You want to make sure that you're filing the correct period. We're going to select File Now beside the period ending in July 31, 2023. And this is just a little blurb of instructions that says what the purpose of this return is. And we can select Next. And here is the now familiar demographic information. We have still not gone out of business, so we can say no and Next. And this, I hope this makes you as happy as it does us. For the first time, you will have the ability to upload a schedule. The schedule is presented to you first. You cannot file a return without submitting the schedule. The schedule will populate your return. Currently, tobacco products filers are submitting their return on paper, and emailing sales.tax a schedule in Excel format. Don't have to do that anymore. If you complete the schedule and attach it or upload it, that is all there is to it. You don't need to email us. And with that said, the schedule has changed formats. If you do not have a current format, you will need to download one first by selecting that link right there that is being highlighted, downloading that blank format, and then you can complete it. The link or the schedule does need to maintain the file name that it has. You can't change any of the tab information because it looks at the return tab that is on there to upload. That's where it pulls the data from. So be cautious about not changing the name or the format of it. It's already pre-formatted for you. So because we already have a schedule pre-populated, we are going to rewind a minute because I missed something. You're going to be asked first, and I apologize for this, if you have any smoking or smokeless tobacco sales or exports to report. If you select no, we're going to assume that you're filing a zero return, and you can select next, and you don't have to attach anything. It's just a zero return. We don't want to file a zero, so we're going to go back and we're going to select yes. And here is where we're going to upload or attach that schedule. So we're going to select the file by selecting that import tobacco product schedules. And here we will choose the file. So that does open up your browser again. You pick your schedule and then you can say okay. And there it is. It populates the table down below so you can see what you're getting, I won't say getting into, but what you're going to populate your return with. If you want to edit the table, you are certainly welcome to do that. If you don't see that the information is correct, you can make the changes right here. You can add by just clicking into or tabbing into the next row. You can delete by clicking on the blue X beside each row. So from here, everything looks good to us. We're going to select next. And here is a summary of our return. How easy was that? So take a look at it again, and if everything looks good, you can select next. And as you may have noticed, at each stage of the return, your progress has been highlighted by the blue bar at the top of the screen. If needed, you can navigate to previous stages of the return by clicking the stage name in the blue bar. At the bottom of the screen, there are options to save a draft, which can be used at any time to save your progress. If you select the cancel button, that will halt the activity and you'll be exited from the system. No saving of your progress. So here we are shown the amount due, and then asked if we would like to make a payment right now. We're going to say no, and then we're going to select next. And here's the confirmation. It's really asking you, are you sure you don't want to make a payment? So it's a no payment confirmation. So we're going to select to pay later, and then next. And there's the required declaration. You'll do the same thing you have done previously, entering the name of the person submitting the return twice, and then hitting submit. And there's your confirmation. Now, if no ACH payment was scheduled with the return, you can still submit a payment by printing or clicking on the print voucher / pay by check button and printing off the payment voucher using your browser's print functionality. Please do not send us a copy of the return from the Maine Tax Portal with your payment. We only need the voucher and your check. The return will come to us through the Maine Tax Portal. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. We have received some questions about debit block numbers and the current Easy Pay system, which is our payment-only portal. The debit block number you are currently using will not change, but after December 31st of 2023, the Easy Pay system will no longer accept payments for tax types that exist in the Maine Tax Portal. You should be using the Maine Tax Portal to schedule any payments for tax types that exist within it. All right, we are now going to demonstrate some additional payment functionality. So paying the tax due in full at the time of filing is a statutory requirement. However, there are other factors that may come into play that prevent you from making that payment in full. Some examples include additional accrued interest or penalties for filing or paying late, or possibly an adjustment to the tax due after the return has been filed. We're going to continue with the business that we just used for the earlier demonstrations. And I'd like to point out that there is a Make a Payment hyperlink within each tax panel. Everyone has it. Clicking on a Make a Payment link within that payment panel will allow you to pay a debt for the tax type that it's located in. Today, we're going to make a payment towards the tobacco tax account. So we'll begin by clicking the Make a Payment hyperlink. And this will take us to the payment screen that you saw earlier. So from here, we will enter our bank routing number, and we're going to use the Populate Bank link. And the bank name will pre-fill based on the number that was entered. Next, we'll enter the account number twice. We'll select a bank account type of either savings or checking. We'll select checking. And do we want to save this payment channel for future use? We're going to say no. And then on the payment type drop-down menu, choices of payment types are available depending on the tax type that you're going to pay. To pay a liability, you would use account payment or a return payment. The account payment allows you to make a general payment towards the account, while the return payment applies it directly to a filed return. Today, we will select return payment, and then you will have to select a period to apply the payment towards, and you can only select one period per return payment. There does need to be a balance due, so for this demonstration, we will select the period ending June 30th, 2023. If you are selecting a period and the due date has already passed, the payment due date will default to today's date because the debt is past due. If the return you select is not yet due, you can choose a future date if you would like. We're going to go ahead and select today's date, as our debt is already past due. So next we will select the payment amount. And then again, on returns that are past due, you will have the choice of paying current balance or other amount. Keep in mind that paying a lesser amount may cause interest and penalties to continue to accrue, but for returns that are not yet due, the entry is freeform. Today, we will select the other amount, and we're going to pay $3,000. And then re-enter that, and then we can select Submit. When you're making a payment, you'll be required to enter your Maine Tax Portal password, and then say OK. And here's your confirmation code. So we're going to click OK now, and that will bring us back to the summary page. If needed, you will have the option to make a change or delete a payment while it is still pending. So if we go to the More tab and then the Submissions box, we're going to search Submissions, and we'll click on the hyperlink of the submission that we want to change, which in this case is payment. And we're brought back to that payment. And from here in the upper right-hand corner, there are options to withdraw and delete. Now you can take either of these steps as long as your payment is in the submitted stage, which is right there. So if it says processed, it's too late. But while it's submitted, you can make a change. So we're going to select to withdraw. And then we're sure that we want to withdraw the submission. And then we're going to say OK. Okay, and to edit your request, say you change your mind, you want to change the payment amount or whatever you want to change, you can select Continue Editing. And from here, you can make whatever changes you'd like to make to any of these fields. And then you can select Submit. You'll be prompted again to enter your password and then click OK. There's a confirmation. Again, you get a confirmation for every activity that you do in the portal. So here, your change has been successful. We can say OK. And now let's say we decide we want to totally delete the request. So we're going to click on the delete link. We're sure that we want to delete this payment. So yes. And then, okay, our submission, the payment submission, has been deleted. So now we're going to click on the submissions link and, okay, the business name, and we'll be brought back to the main page. Does anybody have any questions?
What if you do an ACH credit?
An ACH credit, we don't care about it, meaning that there's no notification within the main tax portal. It's only for ACH debits. If you do ACH credit, and a lot of tobacco distributors do, that's between you and your bank. We don't need to know anything.
Okay, so we don't have to make a payment. We just leave that alone, and you guys will automatic, and then you'll get your payment from us.
Absolutely correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. All right, I can email the template. That was a question that was in the Q&As, and somebody was asking if we can email the template, and yes, indeed, I can. Okay, so I believe that is all that we have to demonstrate for today. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to turn it back over to Mike.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you, Tyler and Tabitha, for your help too, and driving us through that demonstration. So this is an opportunity for our audience to ask any questions you might have. I'm going to show you a piece from our Maine tax portal information page that I believe you'll find helpful. And in the meantime, as we're going through that, if you should think of any questions, you can either type them in or you can wait until I'm done, and then we'll pause again and give everyone an opportunity to unmute your mics or to type in a question, and please ask us. So we would be happy to help. The screen on your screen right now, you'll see the Maine Revenue Services homepage, and we're going to scroll down here and show you one way of getting to the Maine Tax Portal information page. So underneath where it says important updates, the second link from the top says important information about the Maine Tax Portal. We're going to click that. And that'll bring us right to the MTP information page itself. And if you'd like to go directly here and bypass the Maine Revenue Services homepage, you can type in your address bar, maine.gov/revenue/portal. So we'll scroll down just a bit. Underneath the graphic, you'll see the 3 columns, the list of the current taxes that are currently offered in the Maine tax portal. In the third column, you'll note that we, of course, have tobacco and cigarette in there, and the recent group of taxes that were added are in that third column that we just added in October. And we also have underneath those taxes a group of blue buttons. We'll just talk about each one of those for a moment. The Maine Tax Portal login button is a convenient way for you to quickly jump over to the portal. If you're on this page and you want to perform portal activities either as a logged in or non-logged in function, you can click that button and it'll bring you right there. The second button, the FAQs, we'll click that and take a look at it. So we've had a number of these training webinars over the past couple of years, and we've had attendees like yourselves have asked us questions. So these are a summary of all of the questions and the answers that we have posted and organized them so they're easy to look through and explore, and it's a great way of learning about the Maine tax portal. So just to remind you of that, these resources, if you should have questions, is a good chance that one of them may be on this list. So check that out. We're going to go back to the main page again, and now click the instructional videos button. Instructional videos are short video segments. They're narrated and they demonstrate different features and functions of the Maine tax portal. You'll see they're all organized as well into headings so that they're easy to find. And another great way to learn about the portal, and those are there listed 24/7, so you can take advantage of those. We want to point out one video in particular under the Getting Started section. You'll see the second video from the top says setting up a third-party account. So if we have any practitioners in the audience or anyone, a taxpayer who works with a practitioner and you are interested in setting up third-party access so that your practitioner can access your Maine tax portal account information, then that video will be helpful. It explains how the practitioner will go into their respective portal account and request access from their client, and then the taxpayer goes in on their side and approves that access to set up the connection. So it's very easy, and the video really does a nice job explaining how it works. So just to keep that in mind if that's something that you're interested in. I'm going to click back once again, go back to the main page. And now let's look at the 4 blue boxes on the screen. So these are the different rollouts or different phases of the Maine tax portal. And our most recent one is, of course, rollout 3. And if we hover over the box, you'll see a list of all the taxes that were introduced for that rollout. And the 4th rollout, which is the final phase of the Maine tax portal, is slated for October 2024. So if you were interested in looking to see what is next, you can look at that list as well. And then at the bottom of the page in the olive green colored section, you'll see information all about webinars. So like today, you can click on the webinar information button and you can register for as many of the upcoming sessions as you would like. We've already been running these trainings since September, so a number of them have already come and gone, but we do post the prior sessions. Once that training series is done, we do post those videos, and you'll see the webinar recordings button there to the right of the other one. That's where you would go to see those recordings. So if you're interested in even years past, the training on sales tax or withholding, for example, those videos are there. So all great ways to learn about the portal. And you don't have to wait for the video for today's session to be posted on the website. All of the attendees will receive a link tomorrow, which will bring you to the Zoom site where you can view the recording. So in the meantime, you'll be able to see the recording right away, but eventually it will be posted to the webinar recording area on the website. And feel free to sign in and, to log in and register for as many of these sessions. Even if you'd like to repeat something you've already taken, that's totally fine. Please take advantage of those. And then finally, our contact information. If you have a question, our email address and telephone number is listed there right underneath the 4 blue boxes there. Please give us a call or email us. Our email address, taxpayerassist@maine.gov. Once again, taxpayerassist@maine.gov. And that telephone number, 207-624-9784. One more time, 207-624-9784. So thank you for your attention to that. We are going to just pause for a moment and see if we have any last questions. Lori is ready to answer questions, and she's already answered a few, but please just unmute your mic so you can type it in. We'll pause for a second just to make sure we don't have any additional. Giving you a second to find your mute button if you need to ask a question. Okay, well, I don't hear anything. I don't see anything typed in. So Lori knocked it out of the park again. Got all those questions answered. Even before anybody asked, you addressed everything that we wanted to know about this. So that's a great job. So let's recap some of the important things we discussed today. First, we want to thank our presenter. I mean, Lori did a great job, and also thanks to Tyler and Tabitha for demonstrating the Maine tax portal. So very well done. We want to thank all of our attendees today for taking the time out of your afternoon to learn all about the Maine tax portal. So we appreciate that. As a reminder, we have recorded today's session. So tomorrow we will send an email with a link so you can watch the recording. And we want to remind everybody that the Maine tax portal is open now for individuals and for most Maine businesses to file and pay taxes, view notices, and you can do a whole lot more. And cigarette and tobacco tax became live on October 10th, 2023, so it is open and ready. You can visit the Maine tax portal information page to take advantage of all of the resources and the videos and FAQs and everything that I demonstrated. And that address one more time is maine.gov/revenue/portal. And if anybody has a question about the Maine tax portal, please contact us. That email address one more time is taxpayerassist@maine.gov, and the telephone number is 207-624-9784. So we will conclude our webinar for the day. We would like to thank everybody for attending and wish you all a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.